The clock glowed 12 o'clock, and the house was wrapped in a silence that felt heavier than usual. Marissa lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the faint hum of the refrigerator filling the gaps where noise should have been. The creak of a floorboard caught her attention. Her heart skipped. She wasn't alone. A soft knock came at her bedroom door. "Mom?" The voice was small, almost hesitant, yet sharp enough to cut through her drowsiness. It was her son, Eli. He rarely left his bed after dark, and certainly never alone. Marissa swung her legs over the side of the bed, careful not to wake her husband, and walked toward the door. "Hey, what is it, sweetheart?" Her voice was gentle, even though a ripple of worry ran through her. Eli's hands twisted the blanket around him, eyes wide and earnest. "Can we talk?" She nodded, motioning him inside. The room smelled faintly of mint toothpaste and night air. He climbed onto her bed, curling slightly against the comforter. Marissa brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "What's on your mind, honey?" He hesitated. His brows drew together, as though he were trying to pull words from a deep, unreachable place. I just need to understand something." "Of course, whatever it is, you can tell me." There was a pause, long and loaded. The moonlight spilling through the window painted Eli's face in silver and shadow, highlighting the seriousness in his eyes. Marissa felt a pang of worry, sharper than she liked.
Midnight talks were rare. "I don't get it, Mom. Why do people lie?" Her chest tightened. The question was so small, so simple, yet it carried a weight that made her swallow hard. She wanted to answer carefully, to find words that would both comfort and teach, but also shield him from the harshness of reality. "Sometimes," she began softly, "people lie because they're afraid of hurting others, afraid of being hurt themselves, or afraid of being misunderstood." Eli nodded, though his eyes stayed on hers, searching. "But doesn't it just make things worse?" Marissa sighed, sitting beside him. She hugged him close, feeling the warmth of his little body against her side. "Sometimes it does, but sometimes it's a way of protecting someone, or buying time to figure out what's right. It doesn't mean it's good, and it doesn't mean we have to do it." He seemed to mull this over, his little fingers entwining with hers. "So you think lying is okay sometimes?" "It's complicated," she admitted. "The important part is to always try to be honest, even if it's hard. Lies can grow bigger if we're not careful, but truth gives us a chance to fix things." The honesty in her words seemed to settle over him, but a cloud of unease lingered. He pressed closer, head resting against her shoulder. I feel like someone I know is lying to me, and it hurts, Mom." Marissa's heart ached. She wanted to shield him from disappointment and hurt, yet she knew part of growing up was learning to face those feelings. "It's okay to feel that way, Eli. Feeling hurt is part of being human. And it's okay to ask questions, even hard ones, like you just did." He stayed silent for a moment, and then his voice dropped to a whisper. "Sometimes I wonder if people really love each other, or if they just say it because it's easier." Marissa felt her own chest tighten. She had hoped to shelter him from cynicism for longer, but he was already thinking deeply, too deeply for his 8-year-old mind. She kissed his hair gently. "Love is real, Eli, but it's not always simple. People try, they stumble, they make mistakes, and sometimes they hide things. That doesn't mean love isn't there." Eli's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, and Marissa held him tighter. She thought of her husband sleeping peacefully in the other room, of all the small, hidden moments that built their family, and she realized how fragile yet profound these conversations could be. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Eli finally closed his eyes, leaning back slightly as if he had unburdened some invisible weight. Marissa, however, felt a flicker of unease. There was something in his tone, a question behind the question, that she couldn't shake. Something he wasn't saying out loud. She kissed his forehead, brushing back hair that had fallen into his eyes. "Tomorrow we'll talk more, I promise." But as she watched him curl under the blankets, sleep starting to claim him, Marissa felt a strange tension in the air, a quiet whisper that tonight's questions were only the beginning. Morning came slow and quiet, sunlight slipping through the curtains in pale golden stripes. Marissa stirred first, the lingering weight of last night's conversation pressing gently against her chest. She glanced toward Eli's bed. He was still curled beneath his blanket, breathing steady but restless, as though the questions of midnight had not fully released him. She brewed a pot of tea in the kitchen, the steam curling around her fingers like a warm whisper. Thoughts of Eli's small, searching eyes tugged at her heart. She wondered if she had said enough, or if she had spoken too much. Some truths, even gentle ones, could linger longer than intended. Eli appeared eventually, hair tousled and eyes a little bleary, but resolute. "Morning, Mom," he said, his voice quieter than usual. There was something thoughtful in the way he stood, hands fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. "Good morning, sweetie," Marissa replied, offering him a soft smile. "Did you sleep well?" He nodded, though the shadows under his eyes suggested otherwise. "Yeah, I just kept thinking about what you said last night, about truth and lies." Marissa pulled out a chair for him at the kitchen table.
"Do you want to talk more about it?" Eli hesitated, then said, "Not just about lying, about people changing. Can someone really change, Mom?" Marissa's hand stilled over her teacup. She hadn't expected that question, though in hindsight it made sense. Children notice more than adults often give them credit for. "People can change," she said carefully, "but it takes time, effort, and sometimes help. Change isn't always easy, and it isn't always perfect." Eli nodded slowly, picking at the edge of a piece of toast. "And can people really forgive after someone changes?" Her heart ached at his innocence and curiosity, yet she understood the gravity of his question. Forgiveness, even for adults, was often complicated. She reached across the table, taking his small hand in hers. "Sometimes, yes, if they try, and if we choose to believe in them again. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves as much as them." Eli chewed thoughtfully, then let out a quiet sigh. "I hope I can do that someday. I hope I can forgive." His voice trailed off, and Marissa realized he was thinking of someone, though she didn't yet know who. She kept her tone steady, though her mind raced. "You will, Eli. It takes courage and the heart to understand, but you will." The day unfolded slowly, punctuated by quiet moments and the usual routines. Breakfast, a short walk to the park, and Eli's soft chatter as he recounted little observations about trees and birds. Yet through it all, Marissa sensed a subtle tension, a question lingering in her son's mind that he had not yet voiced. That evening, Marissa found herself cleaning dishes while Eli worked on a drawing at the kitchen table. She watched him carefully, noticing the focus and the little furrow of concentration between his brows. Then he looked up, eyes suddenly serious. "Mom, what if someone you love doesn't tell you everything, even things that are important?" Her breath caught. The question carried the weight of suspicion, trust, and fear all rolled into one. Marissa wanted to reassure him, to tell him that love and honesty could coexist even in messy situations, but the tone of his voice suggested this wasn't a hypothetical. "Sometimes," she said cautiously, "people don't share everything right away, maybe because they're scared or unsure. But it doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they're human." Eli nodded, but there was a flicker in his eyes, a realization forming that she could not yet reach. He returned to his drawing, but the energy in the room had shifted. What started as a gentle exploration of honesty now felt like the first tremor of something more complicated, something personal and real to Eli. As she rinsed the last dish, Marissa sensed that tonight would not pass quietly. The midnight question had stirred more than curiosity. It had awakened understanding, a desire to uncover what lay beneath appearances. And for the first time, she wondered if her son's insight might reveal something even she wasn't prepared to face. Her phone buzzed softly on the counter, a reminder that the world outside their small home continued its ordinary rhythm, unaware of the quiet tension building within these walls. Eli's voice called out from the table, soft but insistent. "Mom, can we stay up tonight? Just a little?" Marissa froze, sensing the threat of night yet to come. She realized that the next conversation might uncover truths she hadn't imagined. Night settled slowly, wrapping the house in soft shadows and the faint hum of the world outside. Marissa lingered in the living room, pretending to read, though her mind was already elsewhere. She had agreed to let Eli stay up a little, though she knew the conversation would be delicate. There was a weight to his questions, one that had been quietly growing since midnight the night before. Eli appeared in the doorway, pajamas slightly wrinkled, holding a small flashlight. His eyes were wide, determined, and a little anxious. "Mom, can we go to the living room? I want to talk." Marissa smiled, masking the flutter in her chest. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's make it cozy." She spread a blanket on the floor, arranging pillows so he could lean against her comfortably. The flashlight cast soft beams across the room, turning familiar furniture into gentle silhouettes. "Mom, why do people hide things from the people they love?" Eli asked, his voice small but steady. Marissa took a deep breath. She knew this question wasn't just about abstract ideas anymore. It had the edge of experience, a real worry pressing from within him. "Sometimes," she said softly, "they hide things because they're scared. Scared that telling the truth might hurt someone, or that it might change the way someone feels about them. Other times, they might be trying to protect themselves." Eli's brows furrowed. "But if they love you, shouldn't they trust you enough to tell the truth?" "Yes," Marissa replied, nodding slowly. "Love and trust go together, but people aren't perfect. Sometimes even the ones we trust the most make mistakes. That doesn't mean they don't love you." He seemed to mull this over, chewing his lips slightly. I think someone I care about is hiding something. I can feel it." Marissa's heart tightened. She didn't want to overreact, but the clarity in his small voice made her uneasy. He wasn't imagining it. He had always had a way of sensing things adults sometimes overlooked. "Do you want to tell me who it is?" she asked gently. Eli shook his head, looking down at the blanket. "Not yet. I'm not sure, but it feels important." She nodded, brushing a finger across his hand. "Sometimes we notice things before we're ready to understand them fully. That's okay. You can take your time. And when you're ready, I'll be here." The room felt still for a long moment, except for the faint crackle of the flashlight as Eli shifted it across the floor. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "Mom, what if the person hiding something isn't just making a mistake? What if it changes how you see them?" Marissa's throat tightened. She wanted to give a simple answer, but she knew there wasn't one. "Sometimes," she said carefully, "it does, and sometimes it doesn't. People are complicated, and we're learning about them all the time. You can feel what you feel, but it's important to remember that understanding often comes slowly." Eli leaned against her, the small weight of his body grounding her. I don't want to feel disappointed or alone." "You won't," Marissa whispered, holding him closer. "Even if people make mistakes, you are not alone. You have me, and you have the people who care about you. That never goes away." He nodded slowly, eyes closing as he exhaled. The flashlight's glow danced across the ceiling, painting a quiet pattern of reassurance. Marissa watched him, thinking about how quickly children grew up, how suddenly they noticed things adults often overlooked. She realized the midnight conversation had unearthed more than questions. It had stirred a sense of awareness and courage in him. But just as she began to feel the evening easing into a gentle calm, Eli's eyes shot open. "Mom, I think I know who it is, and I'm scared to find out if I'm right." Marissa froze. The air between them seemed to shift, thick with expectation. She could feel the moment teetering on the edge of revelation, unsure whether to comfort him or let him discover the truth for himself. The quiet hum of the house suddenly felt charged, as if it too were holding its breath. And in that suspended moment, Marissa realized that the conversation at midnight had not only revealed Eli's curiosity, but also hinted at a truth she might not have been ready to face herself. The house was silent again. the kind of quiet that felt heavier than any sound. Marissa sat beside Eli, his small hand tucked into hers, the flashlight casting faint shadows across their faces. She could feel the tension in his body, a mixture of fear and determination, and she knew the moment of truth was drawing near. "Mom," Eli whispered, his voice trembling just slightly. "I think it's Dad. I think he's hiding something from me." Marissa's heart skipped. She had known this moment might come, but the certainty in his voice made her uneasy. She swallowed, keeping her tone calm and steady. "Eli, sometimes adults keep things from children, not because they don't trust them, but because they're trying to protect them. It doesn't mean anything has changed between you and your dad." Eli shook his head, his small frame tense. "I don't know. I feel like it's something important, something I should know." Marissa pulled him close, brushing his hair from his forehead.
Sometimes feelings like this are our intuition. They tell us to pay attention, but they don't always reveal the full story. That's why talking about it gently is important. He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I think I want to ask him, but I'm scared." She nodded, understanding exactly what he felt. It's okay to be scared. Asking questions can be scary, even for adults. But being brave doesn't mean you aren't afraid. It means you go forward despite it. Eli looked at her, eyes wide and earnest. "Mom, will you stay with me when I ask?" "Of course," Marissa whispered, squeezing his hand. "I'll be right here." The minutes stretched as they sat together, the house seeming to hold its breath. Finally, Marissa guided him to the hallway where the bedroom door of his father stood closed. Eli's tiny hand hovered over the doorknob. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. He nodded. "I have to know." Marissa took a step back, offering a reassuring smile. "Then go ahead, Eli. You can do this." He opened the door slowly, stepping inside. Marissa followed a few steps behind, careful to give him space. His father was sitting at the edge of the bed, reading a book, unaware of the storm about to unfold. "Dad?" Eli's voice was steady, but the undercurrent of worry was clear. His father looked up, surprised, and smiled gently. "Hey, buddy, what's up?" Eli swallowed, fingers curling around the edge of the blanket. I think you're hiding something from me." There was a pause. Marissa felt her chest tighten as she watched the father and son exchange a look heavy with unspoken words. His father's smile softened, but his eyes reflected an understanding that this was no ordinary question. "Eli," he said quietly, "sometimes adults do keep things from kids, not because they don't trust you, but because they're trying to protect you. Is that what you mean?" Eli nodded slowly. "Yes, but it feels bigger than that. It feels like something that could change everything." His father set the book aside, moving closer. "You're right, Eli. There is something I've kept from you, and it's time you know. But I want you to know I'm telling you because I love you and I trust you, not to hurt you." Marissa's heart raced. She could see the fear and courage in her son's eyes, the way he braced himself for whatever revelation was coming. She wanted to shield him, but she also knew he needed this truth. Eli's lips pressed into a thin line, his small hands gripping the blanket. "Okay, I'm ready." The father's voice softened, and he began to explain something long hidden, something that had shaped his choices in ways Eli had never imagined. Marissa watched her son listen, every flicker of expression reflecting understanding, confusion, and a budding maturity. When the words finally sunk in, Eli's shoulders slumped slightly, relief mixing with lingering uncertainty. He looked at his mother, seeking reassurance. Marissa reached out, pulling him into a quiet embrace. "It's okay," she whispered. "You handled this so well. I'm proud of you." But even as they sat together, a quiet tension lingered, subtle and persistent. Marissa knew that while the truth had been revealed, its echoes would ripple through their family in ways they couldn't yet predict.
something had shifted, gently but irrevocably. And in that stillness, Marissa realized that the next step, the step beyond revelation, was the hardest one of all, learning how to move forward, together. The following days were quiet, almost deceptively ordinary. The morning sun streamed through the windows, painting golden lines across the living room floor. Marissa moved through the house with gentle attentiveness, aware of the subtle tension that had settled like a shadow. Even as the routine hummed along, breakfast, school drop-off, chores, she felt the weight of what had been revealed still lingering. Eli, however, surprised her. He carried himself with a strange combination of thoughtfulness and quiet resilience. Gone was the small hesitation that had clouded his steps since midnight. Instead, he approached each day with a subtle curiosity, like he was piecing together a puzzle only he could fully understand. "Mom," he said one morning as they walked to the park, "I think I get it now. People aren't perfect, and sometimes they keep things to protect others, but that doesn't mean love isn't real." Marissa's heart warmed. She smiled at him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Exactly, Eli. You understand something very important. Love can survive mistakes, misunderstandings, and even secrets. It grows when we forgive and try to understand each other." He looked up at her with a small, determined nod. "And I want to be someone who understands, even when it's hard." The simplicity and clarity of his words struck her. She had spent nights worrying about whether she had guided him enough, but now she realized he had absorbed more than she had imagined. Children often notice what adults overlook, and Eli's perceptiveness was a quiet reminder of that truth. That evening, they sat together on the porch, the sky painted in soft shades of lavender and rose. Eli rested against her side, small fingers entwined with hers. "Mom, I think I forgive him," he said softly, eyes focused on the horizon. "You don't have to rush," she replied, wrapping an arm around him. "Forgiveness isn't always instant, but your heart knows what it's ready for." He smiled faintly, leaning closer. "I think my heart's ready." Marissa watched him, thinking of the journey they had taken these past nights, from whispered questions at midnight to quiet revelations in the glow of moonlight. Each moment had been fragile, tender, and yet profoundly transformative. Later, as the house grew dark and the world outside hushed, Eli climbed into bed, clutching a small notebook he had brought from school. "I've been writing," he said, holding it out to her. "All the things I've been thinking about truth, love, and people." Marissa took it carefully, scanning the pages filled with careful words, simple sketches, and honest reflections. She felt tears prick at her eyes, not from sadness, but from awe at his depth and courage. "These are wonderful, Eli. I'm proud of you." He beamed, eyes lighting up. "Thanks, Mom. I feel lighter now. Talking to you helped." She tucked the blanket around him, brushing his hair from his forehead. "And I'll always be here, Eli, no matter what questions you have or how heavy the nights feel." As she turned to leave the room, Eli called softly after her. "Mom, can we do this again tomorrow night? Just talk?" Marissa smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "Yes, sweetheart, we can." She closed the door quietly, leaning against it for a moment. The house felt alive in a new way, the invisible threads of trust and understanding woven more tightly than before. Midnight had brought questions, and those questions had brought clarity and courage. In the soft stillness, Marissa realized that parenting wasn't about shielding her child from every shadow or hiding the truth. It was about walking alongside him, hand in hand, ready to face what came, night after night. As she finally settled into her own bed, Marissa felt a quiet peace. Eli's whispered questions had revealed more than she expected, but they had also revealed the strength, insight, and compassion within him. And in that realization, she found a gentle hope, a belief that love, honesty, and courage could guide them both, even in the quietest, darkest hours. For the first time in many nights, Marissa closed her eyes without lingering worry, certain that no matter the questions or the truths yet to come, their bond would carry them through.